Cool. So demo time. So as the name suggests, it's all about slides and demos. So, oh, yeah, it already goes wrong. I need to change. Okay, there we go. Remove some things over here. Yeah, so you don't see this. Oh, damn. These things go wrong. Cool. But this is not what it's intended, or this was what's intended. So we've all been to sessions where presenters open a PowerPoint and then fiddle around, do these kind of things like, oh yeah, I want to show some code over here. Can you follow? Going back to PowerPoint, flipping again. Oh, this code was the one thing that I wanted to show, or was it actually this file? No, wait for it. I'm looking for the right file. Yeah, it's this file. So this particular thing is what I wanted to show. And oh, that's exactly why I thought demo time is what needs to be there. Because if you're live on stage and you're going to do demos, you're already stressed that everything needs to go right. So first of all, when I started thinking about demo time, when I can just close all of that, and let's restart this, and let's click on this. When I first thought about demo time, because I was doing a lot of sessions in the past, and I always had the feeling like there could be a better way for me to present in a way that I don't have to think about what is my actual script that I need to follow. The scripts meaning going from slides to a demo and so on and so on. And in the past, what I used were a lot of snippets. So created snippets within Visual Studio Code. I had also other external tools where I could just type a couple of keywords and then it's inserted snippets. But then again, if I created a session and I did the session again in, let's say, 2 months, I had to remember that kind of script, like I open this, then I need to type this, and so on and so on. So back then, it worked until a certain point where I said, there could be a better way. And that's where I started to develop demo time. So the demo time is a Visual Studio Code extension, which you can use to present your coding demos straight from within Visual Studio Code. You create a script. A script is a JSON file where you actually have all of the capabilities of Visual Studio Code in your hands. So you automate everything. You can just use your keyboard and click on next, or you can use a clicker, because what I'm doing is I'm just pressing next and the next slide is going in. And yes, slides are now also part of demo time, because if you're doing demos, you're probably also going to present slides. So I combine everything together. So demo time these days is doing slides and doing demos all within Visual Studio Code. So you don't actually need PowerPoint anymore. You can just use Visual Studio Code. The nicest thing about demo time is code highlighting. We all been in sessions where you see people present and then they are going to use a square around this code block and all these fancy tools. But then again, you need to look at your screen. Where is that particular line? Oh, this line, and then zooming in and highlighting that particular block. Maybe you want to always do that during your session, so you can use code highlighting straight from demo time. You just script it, and the next time you're going to run that demo, it's going to be highlighting it for you. There's also an action where you can do it manually. So you select a couple of lines, you click the highlight, and it will highlight for you. Also, people came to me and they said, like, yeah, right now, the dry runs that I need to do for my talks are pretty easy because I just got the script in front of me and I can follow that. If I want to restart, remove everything that I don't want to commit and start again. So that's what demo time is. For me, the biggest benefit is that there is no context switching. Like what you just saw in the beginning, you open PowerPoint and then flipping over to Visual Studio Code and then probably also going back to PowerPoint and vice versa. You're losing your audience with these kind of things because your audience is distracted of all the flipping between the applications and so on. So no context switching for the audience, but also for you. You keep track of what you're doing. So you're in Visual Studio Code, you know what you're doing, so you don't need to look for another application anymore. No more snippet creation. You don't have to think about, oh, am I going to mistype something? No, everything is scripted, so you don't actually have to type anymore. And it can almost use any action that there is or command that there is available in Visual Studio Code in your hands. So how do you get started? You open Visual Studio Code, you go to the extension view, you search for demo time, you install it, and then you will see a panel view where you have a big initialize button. As I already created everything, or the demos are being created already, there's no initialize button anymore for me. So that's why I just visualized it here on the slide. The initialize button, if you click on it, it creates you a sample file where you can start from. So here is Visual Studio Code where I just type in demo time. And here you see this is that particular version. Currently there's 0.0.84. And this is the documentation. There's also websites, I will show it later, where everything is documented. Once you install this version, you will either have this particular panel or it will be in your Explorer view, but there will be a panel for you. And then what you can do is you can create a new demo file. Let's call it demo. And a demo file that is being created looks like this. As I mentioned, you can highlight. So I can just click on this and I can highlight the code. I can also say, hey, over here in demos, that's where you need to create that particular steps in your demos. And that's where we are going to start working on. So we already showed this, and this is my actual script that I need to follow. So behind the scenes, this is what's actually, or what I'm going to present to you. Similar like you would see your slides in PowerPoint. This is the same view, but then from within demo time. And you can actually manually click these actions, or I can just press next and it will do a couple of things. So what can you actually do within demo time? So I already showed you how to open a extension panel and open a file, but there are actually more actions. So let's go back to the demo time actions, and I categorize them in a couple of things. So you have file actions like open and create a file. You have slide actions. This is what I'm using right now for opening a slide, creating a slide. There's a preview action for images, because the image preview is there already in Visual Studio Code, but it's not using the full width or some and things. And with this one, you can do a custom things like adding some styling and so on to your images, like people are using images for presenting themselves in a preview slide about me and so on. So you can use these kind of actions. There's also a Git patch system in place. So you could create a snapshot of a file and then do some adaptations to the file, create a patch, and overwrite it the moment you're going to make use of that particular file. So you can put a file in place starting from that snapshot, and then if you want to do an update, you can use that patch and update it based on that patch. You can change some settings. Maybe you already saw it, but I flip my theme when I'm going for my slides. I'm using a dark mode theme, and when I'm going to show codes, I'm going to use a lighter theme. That's where I'm going to use a setting. So I set the theme in dark mode. When I'm going to slides, when I'm going back, I'm switching it back again. So settings can be done. Terminal, you can do scripting. So you can run a script, you can open the terminal, you can run a particular terminal command. You can do time actions, like wait for a couple of seconds. You can use Visual Studio Code command and snippets. Snippets is a really interesting thing. If you have a couple of actions that need to run straight after each other a couple of times, so you can reuse these kind of actions. So here is an example of how to work with a file action. So you have an action replace, you specify a path, you specify the position where you want to replace codes, and then what kind of content that you want to insert. There's also a line insertion delay. That's what you will see immediately. So it's like typing, but it's line by line, it's going to add it. So if I'm going to move over, now it's adding all the lines to my file. So I just created the demo.json file with the highlight code section over here. So highlighted code is now there. And that's it. So when I'm going to run this action, it's going to look for the demo.json file and is going to use the start placeholder highlights and the end placeholder zoom tree. So what is it going to do? It will highlight this particular lines for me. And that's what this part is going to do. So highlighting codes is probably one of the most used features of demo time. So I already showed that. When I'm going to click right now, it's going to highlight it. Same thing as I just did, but there will be something that I want to show as well. So I accidentally typed 0. So what you see here now is the highlighted code. But maybe you want to have more focus on this highlighting. So you can do also changes to some highlighting properties like blurring, zooming, and so on. So there's already a zoom set to 3. So if I would click out of that highlighting box, you see that the zoom is going away. That's because I said there needs to be a zooming. But if I click on next, look at this, there's a blurring effect. And only the code that is now in the highlight block is more focused than the other one. So for your audience, you can just say, hey, this block, this is the important code block, and that's where I want you to focus on. These are things that are all configurable within demo time. So that's what you'd see over here. So you can set this particular block to, I don't want to have a border. I want to have the background set to this color. I want to have the opacity set to that and a blurring effect. So if I set it to more, it will be more blurred and so on. Visual Studio Code actions. So again, it's an action. You specify execute VS Codes commands, and then you need to know which Visual Studio Code commands that you are going to use. If you don't know which Visual Studio Code commands exist or the IDs, if you just open the command panel, you can right click on it, or you see the gear button, and there you can click on the copy command ID, and that's your ID that you want to start using within this particular action. But wait, there's a lot more. As I already mentioned, and I'm already showing it, there are slides as well. So beside your demos, you can make use of slides. So the best thing now is I don't have to leave my Visual Studio Code editor in order to do a full presentation from slides to code back to slides. No context switching. Everything stays within that one presentation tool, which is now Visual Studio Code. There's also teaming support. So I created 4 teams already for you to work with. And you can also create your own custom teams, which is basically creating some CSS and then overwriting the CSS of a particular team if you want. So how do you get started with creating a slide? It's either creating a Markdown file, and there's another way. It's by using the demo time create a slide command. It will ask you a couple of things like the title, and do you want to add it as a demo step? And if you add it as a demo step, it will be added at the end of your demos, and then it will create you that file. It works very similar to a tool called SlideDev. If you ever heard of it, I'm a big fan of SlideDev. It creates from Markdown, it creates a slides out of your slides. I was inspired by this. Now, SlideDev is not the only tool. There's also Mark, which is also a tool that can be used for Markdown to slides. That's what inspired me to start using or to start creating it within demo time. And the nicest thing about all of this is that it's combined. So there's a logic between both of them. So from slides to code and so on, it works seamlessly. So creating a slide, this is what the typical sample slide would look like. You can specify a theme, you can specify a layout, and then you work with some Markdown. So you have the front matter zone at the top, and then your content at the bottom. Let me open a particular slide. So this is the slide that I created. When I'm opening it, let me accidentally clicked on the zoom thing at the top. I don't know how you call that particular thing. So I have the slides source on the left, and then on the right is live rendering. If I'm going to click next, I'm going to flip the theming. So now I'm in the minimal theme. I can also go to the unnamed theme. So you see that everything changes based on the theme that you define. You can also do the same thing for layouts. So this is the default layout. This is an intro layout. This is a quote layout. And this is a layout with image on the left. So all of that, what I'm doing right now is all scripted. So it's just overwriting some content or replacing some content within this particular file. Do I want, oh yeah, I made some changes. So I want to keep them. And is there more in demo time? Yeah, I'm not there yet. I don't think that I listed everything what the solution can do or the extension can do. But if you, for instance, want to work from outside, like I was doing in SlideDev, I created an API, and I also created a Visual Studio Code URI, where you can, for instance, click on a website, open Visual Studio Code, and run a particular demo. Or the API call is something that I was using with SlideDev, where I clicked on a button from within SlideDev. It opened Visual Studio Code, and it ran the particular command, the next command, in order to run the next demo. There's also a clock and a countdown. So if you want to see how much time you still have left during your session, then you have a small countdown clock, and it will also alert you when it's red, that you know, oh, I'm over time. So these kind of things are there. There was feedback, and one of the feedbacks was a presenter view. A presenter view, that's a view that you can have on a second monitor. So right now it would be very handy to have a presenter view. I know the order, how that I'm going to present, but still, it could be that you want to see a view where on what you're going to present. So this particular thing is something that I can just move from screen to screen. So it's the same thing as you can see here in the left panel, although the left panel is something, it's stuck within Visual Studio Code. A web view can just be dragged around. So nice thing about it is I can, if I just click this note, I can now click on this presenter view, it's going to execute the next thing. There's also notes, because sometimes we forget things, but notes is also easier for you to, when you're coming back to your slide deck, oh, this is what I needed to tell. But imagine if you are now creating this slide deck from within Visual Studio Code, and you're going to give this slide deck to your audience. They can start playing with it, and you can give them also notes and have everything that you were talking about during your presentation in the notes, and they can just follow along by just clicking next, and they seeing the notes next to it. So also very nice addition, I think, to demo time. We're almost there. So pretty cool thing is some showcases where I'm really proud of. So demo time has already been used in the OpenAI Dev Days last year, live on stage in front of, I think it's now almost 1 million times viewed. So for me, that was really amazing. Also on Microsoft Ignite, it was shown. So a friend of mine, he used it at Microsoft Ignite. So pretty cool. If you want to know more, there's the website demotime.edu.dev. So if you go there, you will see this website and all of, if my mouse, there it is. So over here, you will find all the actions. Everything is documented, all the slides and so on. So that said, we can go to the thank you. So thank you for listening. I hope you get inspired by using demo time. I love starts on this project. So feel free to share, contribute, sponsor, whatever you might be. And I think most importantly is the feedback, how you see this product evolve. Ideas are always welcome. But that's it. Thank you very much.